Hello everyone and welcome back to another Unreal Engine 5 tutorial. Today we'll build a river inside our PCG Forest environment with a new shallow water river system which was released in Unreal Engine 5.6. So we will get a simulated dynamic water with mesh interaction, foam and ripples. To get started, we need to enable a couple of plugins. We need the Water plugin, of course, and the Water Advanced plugin. Then restart your engine. After restart, you will see this error message. Don't close it. It says the water body collision type is missing in the default engine INI file. So we need to add it just by clicking on Add Entry over here. Then restart your engine again manually. Okay. Let's turn off our forest for a second and find a nice place for the river. Go to Add and search for Water. Choose and drag the Water Body River to your scene. This is the base water component, not the simulated water which comes on top with the shallow water later. Because the water body automatically deforms your landscape, click Complete to add a new water layer to the landscape. So this works like a normal spline. You can move the points, add new ones by holding Alt, and as you can see, the landscape automatically updates the riverbed area. In the Details panel, you can adjust the depth and the width of the river for each spline point individually. Or by clicking this icon, you can select and adjust all spline points at once. There are plenty of parameters here to customize the overall shape of the riverbed. Select the Water Body River instance. In the Terrain section, you'll find the Curve settings and the Water Height Map settings. Let's temporarily disable the water so we can see what's going on. In the curve settings, the curve ramp width is very useful for defining the transition between the riverbank and the riverbed. In the Water Height Map section, under Fall-Off settings, you can control how the river blends into the landscape. The fall-off width is especially powerful here. And the Z offset lifts the edges upward. This is very useful if the water starts spilling over the riverbed. The edge offset defines the distance before the ramp starts blending into the landscape. We also have an Effects section. Here you can add noise patterns or displacement textures to create a more natural look. First, set the curl noise tiling to 128. Then increase the curl amount just slightly, around 0.02. We will fine-tune these values later, once we have the simulated shallow water in place. If you are happy with the result, add the shallow water river to the scene. To make it work, we first need to assign the water body. Go to the Details panel, search for Source River Water Bodies and assign the one we just created. To activate the simulation, click Reset. Inside the shallow water river, you'll find several parameters to customize the water and its behavior. Go to the Simulation section. With Remove Outside Spline Amount, we can force the water to stay inside the riverbed much better than it does by default. Set this value to around 500. We can also go back to the water body and slightly adjust the Z offset to prevent the water from spilling over the edges. I also increase the fall-off width a bit more. That already looks pretty good to me. If you open the Baked Simulation Material instance, you can tweak a lot of visual settings. For example, you can adjust the absorption color to add a tint, or fine-tune the refraction or specular values of the surface. You can also control the wave amount, the wave speed and more. Feel free to play around with these settings to explore all the details. The last thing I want to show you is how you set up collision with static meshes, like rocks. Drag your rock mesh into the scene. Make sure your rock mesh have collision enabled and are using a simple collision or a complex as simple collision preset. And this is where things get a little buggy in Unreal Engine 5.7. The usual workflow is to assign an actor tag to the static mesh, for example a water collision, and then use the same tag in the shallow water body under Collision Bottom Contour Tags. However, in Unreal Engine 5.7 this doesn't always work correctly. In many cases it starts working if you simply add a new index and leave it set to none, without using any tag at all. I can't guarantee consistent behavior here, so you may need to experiment a bit with the tag settings in the shallow water body to get it work reliably. Alright, now let's turn our PCG Forest back on and exclude the river from tree spawning. Open the PCG graph. Add a getSpline data node and set it to all world actors by class, and as the selection class choose Water Body River. Drag out the output pin and add a spline sampler. Set it to onSpline and use distance, just like we did it for the forest path spline. Next, add a bounce modifier node to define the offset values. Press D to enable debug mode and adjust the min and max values for the width and height. The height values may need to be quite high, because the tree volume sampler traces the original landscape, not the actual landscape deformation created by the water body. Otherwise, trees might spawn floating above the river. Finally, connect the bounce modifier to the difference node of the trees. Design your river by adding more rocks or foliage to the riverbank. To optimize the performance and make the river ready for runtime and gameplay, click Bake next to the Reset button. Then switch the render state to Water component with Baked Sim to keep the simulation while still using the component at runtime, for things like ripples or buoyancy. To enable ripple effect for your third-person character, go to the project settings and enable Use Default Shallow Water Subsystem. Okay, shallow water in Unreal Engine 5.7 is still experimental, so some behavior may change in future versions. And that's it for today. Thanks for watching. I hope you liked it and it was helpful. If you want more tutorials like this, just leave a comment. Cheers!